This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West podcast with your hosts, Brandon Cook, Nick Harrington, and Travis Foch.
Well, after a full week off of Griffins hockey, we get another full week off of Griffins hockey before the playoffs can truly begin, but we know who the opponent is now. We can finally provide a playoff preview. Welcome back to the Hockeytown West podcast, everybody, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. We'll have a Toledo Walleye update for you guys next week when this first round is finished, because with their playing schedule, we'd record something, post it. It would be irrelevant by the time you guys actually listen to it. So we'll hold off until then, but they are up 3-0 in that series if you're looking for that update over there. Game 4 is Wednesday in Bloomington, and if needed, Game 5 is also Thursday in Bloomington, and then they would come back home if needed. So there's your Toledo Walleye update condensed into 15 seconds. If you're looking for Red Wings content, make sure you're checking out our buddies over at the Grindline podcast for all the off-season content that they'll have over there. I just jumped on with them last week to kind of talk about the Griffins season and the playoffs as well. So make sure you check out that episode if you haven't yet. And then one more fun piece of news is Andrew is joining us again today. You guys might know him as Griffin's Nest on Twitter, but even more fun than that, he's going to be a permanent part of this show going forward. We've enjoyed working with him. Figured the Griffins knowledge of all of us combined is going to make a better show for all of you. We are super excited to have him on, and we'll get to the full scheduling of when he'll be on and when he won't once we get more of those details figured out after the offseason. But for now, he is here, and we are happy to have you. So welcome officially to the show, Ian.
Appreciate you, man.
Well, we appreciate you as well. So let's talk about these playoffs and who we are about to be playing here. It all depended on the play-in round in the Central Division between Milwaukee and Manitoba, and we had our predictions going into it, and I think most of us were wrong. Manitoba ended up winning this series 2-1. You had Game 1, Milwaukee wins that one by a score of 4-1. Then Game 2, Manitoba won that 2-1. And they also won the last game 2-1. So not a lot of goal scoring needed for Manitoba to win this series. Absolutely wild to see that they took the win there. But now they move on to face one of the powerhouses of the AHL, the Grand Rapids Griffins. And I think that's been a lot of the talk around the league is, all right, Manitoba survived one. Can they survive another? We're going to talk about that more in a second. When you look at the schedule for this round, we'll give that to you early here. It doesn't start until Saturday. You got Saturday and Sunday, both in Manitoba, before the series shifts back to Grand Rapids for the remaining 3 games. That is a Wednesday, Friday, Saturday schedule there. So nice days to be scheduled for Grand Rapids, not these like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. I don't have complaints about the schedule. Do you?
Yeah. Another week off? Like I thought somebody would jump in.
Elaborate, will you?
Why do we need 2 weeks off? Like, Jesus, the game they're going to be playing in July in the finals at this point. Like,
I know. We
figure
it
know.
out. We'll let you get it out of your system anymore.
No.
All right, cool.
But hey, a few words. Now it has words.
Right. But hey, at least like the days that the games are on are good days to be watching hockey. Like I understand the schedule in Manitoba being Saturday, Sunday at 3:00 in the afternoon, our time, which at the end of the day isn't a complaint from us because we will be doing post-game recordings after every single game for the Griffins playoff run, which sounds insane. But when we look at those and go, oh, games at 3, done by like 6, the show will be done by 8. We still have Saturday and Sunday night. Cool. But I do like that the games are on real game days, not Tuesdays, not Thursdays, not a Monday. I do appreciate what they did with this. So when we look at this series, let's talk about some of the stats from the regular season. And I think the first one you don't want to look at, obviously, is what was the Griffins' record versus Manitoba this year? 6-1-1-0 in the season for the Griffins against the Moose. Not saying that it means the Moose were a bad team. Remember what Dan Watson told us after, I think it was Game 3 against them in the season. Once that team figures it out, they're going to be a good team. They're in the playoffs. They're playing us now. We can expect them to put up a little bit of a fight. But when you look at that regular season matchup overall, what is your biggest takeaway, Nick?
Biggest takeaway is that they are heavy volume shots. They outshot us, I believe, just about every game. They were like that the entire season against every opponent that they played. They are a high volume shooting team. They just don't score a whole lot at all. I mean, they just won that playoff series scoring less than 2 goals a game. So it's, to me, I'm excited about this matchup, and which we'll get into a little later when we talk about goaltending. but it's a lot of shot volume from their forwards. And when I was watching them play Milwaukee, they really go into team defense. They play a very good team defense as well. So, I mean, this looks like a David versus Goliath matchup, but it could. I don't think it's that mismatched either.
I don't even know where to begin with Manitoba. Of all the teams in the Griffins division, Manitoba is like the one I'm least familiar with. And I don't even know why that is. I never really took Manitoba, and this sounds terrible, as a threat throughout the entire year. Obviously, your big rivals in like Milwaukee and Rockford and things and teams like that. Those are the ones where I'd like put a lot more stock into it. But Manitoba's a big question mark. As you mentioned, they beat Milwaukee, scoring 5 goals in 3 games, going 1-2-2. But to your other point is they put up a lot of shots. But the big question becomes like, what type of quality shots are they throwing out there? Are we talking like in the slot shots? Are we talking perimeter shots? And if it's more the latter than the former, I think the Griffins have a very good shot at beating Manitoba and not having it go the distance of the 5 games. Because obviously Griffins defensively throughout the entire year, they're either first or second in goals allowed across the board. So if you utilize that defense against perimeter shots, I think they have a really good shot at taking on Manitoba, even if it is lopsided in that category.
I think the biggest thing for me is like you look at the overall record and they were pretty dominant, right? But you also hear what Waddy said of like when they figure it out, they're going to be a good team. Can you maybe balance the two? Because I think everybody at this point in the year, you're starting fresh, right? Like it's a new season for everybody. And the Griffins haven't played in 2 weeks now by the time game 1 starts. So like, is there any rust versus like with rest? And comparatively speaking to what Manitoba, they just played. So they at least had to go through and play some games. And I think, I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I could see a world where GR has maybe a tough first period until they get their feet underneath them in game 1. But I think they'll get to it quickly because I think Waddy will have the guys prepared. Much different situation than last year. I think if you look at a whole, they implemented what was it, MBN and ASP. They had only played like 3 or 4 games. There was a couple other guys like Finney had played a couple games. Like I feel like this year there's a lot more experience with the younger players. You look at MBN full season in North America now. ASP had a full year in North America. Kiskinen came in and played really well at the end of the year. So can that translate into the playoffs? We'll see. Carter Mazer, obviously injuries, but you know what he is at this level. So I just think there's a lot more experience for the younger players. I think that'll help.
I want to touch on 2 things that you both said is, Andrew, the shots are coming from, I went through all the shot charts for all 8 games that they played. A lot of the shots are coming down the right circle, right face off dot, right post. It's all coming from that side, and then they're crashing the net. So if we could keep the crease area clear, we're going to be all right. And then the last one is most of them are coming from the perimeter, so blue line. So they are heavy there. So like deflections, rebounds. That's where they try to get in and try to score. Playoff hockey, right? Like Waddy said, he's not surprised because they play a playoff style game. They just I don't think they have enough skill or depth to be able to, and obviously you see it, they're not putting up goals, but they play a tougher style. So to Travis's point, the rest versus rust, that is a concern of mine because Manitoba just played 3 games, tight games. They've been playing kind of a little bit for their lives the last few weeks because I think they were still on the bubble of getting in. So now we have 2 weeks off to going into this game where it's, okay, that first period is going to be huge because Manitoba scores more. They're better in the first than they are in the second or third. At Grand Rapids, if we score first, we typically are winning, but we get better as the game goes on. So, and that's all to the conditioning that Waddy has started in the beginning of the season where the practices that we've been at, right, and where we've seen them just drenched, just out of breath. So I think that will help. The rust, I'm hoping it's just whatever injuries we have right now, we're able to clear it up, clean up, and then we're all good to go for this run.
The only challenge I have to what you said there about the scoring is them being better in certain periods in Grand Rapids. Looking at the regular season, obviously not playoffs, it's such a small sample size. In the regular season, Manitoba, first period, goals scored 58, goals against 62. Second period, goals scored 62, goals against 72. Third period, goals scored 59, goals against 74. When you look at that in transition to Grand Rapids, first period for Grand Rapids, goals scored 75, goals against 50. Second period, goals scored 72, goals against 53. Third period, goals scored 100 to 51 goals against. The Grand Rapids is just a dominant third period team. Like, I wish there was an easy way to see and break down where they were at shots against in that third period. This chart would take a while to break that down. But just to see, like, we've seen how many times where they shut it down in that third and to be 6 shots against, 7 shots against maybe in that third period. I'd love to see where they rank among the American League in that, to see how they can defensively shut it down. I feel like these have potential to be very defensive heavy battle games.
Well, that's what Waddy did down here. Like, you get the lead and you just lock it down. Like, that for years down here in Toledo, even into the playoffs, like if they got the lead and they were up going into the third period, like it was over. So I think that's one thing for me that is one thing they will keep an eye on, like, because he's done that and it's been a recipe of success everywhere he's been. So it's a very key point. And if you're not giving up shots late in the game, like, it's always better to just have the puck and not give up any shots.
So I don't want to deviate too far from this topic, but Travis, I know you followed Toledo for a long time. So my question to you, because I obviously haven't followed them nearly as much, when Waddy was down in Toledo and they made a pretty heavy Kelly Cup run, where do you think their downfall was when it came time to like the finals or the conference finals? What didn't push them over the edge? And is it personnel or was it coaching? Combination of both?
I don't think it was coaching at all. I wouldn't say Waddy was ever out coached. You look at he went to 2 finals while he was here. Maybe a little bit of size at points. They were always a little bit smaller team, but they were super scaled, right? Like, they always could find the back of the net. You could argue in 2019, that year, it was a mismatch. Like, we were an ECHL team playing the Toronto Marlies. Like, we were playing the Marlies B team that year. So, like, the fact that they took it to 6 games was an incredible feat. And then the one with Florida, like, Cam Johnson just flat out won that series for the Everblades. Like, Toledo had one game in Florida where they had the lead and blew it late, but I don't think it had to do with coaching. It was just like one they got out-dueled by the best goalie potentially, and like, if you go look at his numbers per like a league to league basis, if you put all that information in one thing, he's probably a top 5 goalie in North America over that stretch run that the Florida Everblades had in all of pro hockey.
Wow.
And then the other one, like I said, you're playing an American League team. So it was incredible that they got there and got as close as they did.
I just want to touch on Brandon's point there is when they score first, whoever scored first in the series, through the 8 games that they played, won the game.
It's even more interesting you point that out when you look at the regular season. When the Griffins were leading after the first period, they were undefeated. The only team in the American League that was undefeated after leading after the first period. When they were out shooting their opponent during the season, they were 29-7-3-1. When they were outshot by their opponent, they were 21-7-1-0.
So here's another stat too, and I know you guys have tracked this all year because he's going to be in the lineup. Then you factor in the Dominic Shine stat, like how good the team was when they just had him in the lineup. So another thing too, like, to keep an eye on. He'll be playing every game now. So
it makes me nervous with this first game because of the layoff. If Manitoba gets on the board first, that's what makes me nervous. Because if they get on there, then we're gonna battle uphill a little bit this first game. And just like you had said, Travis, like the rest those first 10 minutes are gonna be important. And I think Waddy's like, it's not something that's not gonna be communicated. They're gonna know that going in. They got to find their legs. They got to find them fast.
When you look at the stats, the comparisons, there's something that you got to go way back in and remember that the Griffins versus Moose, this goes back to the IHL too. We talked a lot about the Wolves and the Admirals being those IHL rivalries. The Moose were there too. And all-time playoff series between these two teams, the Griffins are 9-14 against the Moose. So all-time record, not great. History's not on their side when it comes to playing the Moose. I can remember some of those series like really well, and they were not fun, but obviously it's a different era, different Griffins team, different Moose team as well. But it is interesting when you go back a ways and see what that record looks like. You go, oh, well, at least maybe we can start moving it to the positive side this year.
You think, like, you talk about the old IHL days, and all I can think of is how different the teams look throughout the years, like with uniforms and different stuff. Like we're being denied the shield versus that baby blue Moose jersey.
Are we though? Because the Moose are wearing that baby blue jersey through the playoffs. We don't know if the Griffins will bust out the shield on the road. We don't know.
If it was me, I'd rock that red old school with that white shield. But they're gonna just wear their regular home and aways.
I don't know. You might see the red and white jersey. They did wear it for the last home game of the season. It still exists. We could see it, and I agree with you that would be a beautiful matchup. Even though I think the old style Moose jersey, which ironically we saw in Toledo this weekend, but that jersey is way cooler than their current one. When you look at both teams, we'll start with Manitoba here. I know you mentioned a couple of players earlier, Travis. Just like who stands out to you as guys that we need to watch out for when it comes to this Moose team?
I think I know I said it before we started talking about Braden Yeager, Philip DiGiuseppe, Brad Lambert. Those are probably the three for me that really stick out. Parker Ford had a good series against Milwaukee, had 2 goals. And I mean, honestly, you got to even include the goaltenders. You look at, who's it? I don't even. Yeah, however you say that, he played really well in the game I watched on the plane. I don't know how he looked the rest of the series, but they won the series. So I thought he was kind of surprising because when you look at the regular season, he was sub 900. And he pretty well carried them in that last game of the year, especially that third period. He was huge in that third period in their clinching game.
He was massive in that. Yeah, they started the series with Thomas Milic in net. He had a 3.12 and a .87 in that game, and then DiVincentis came in, and for the 2 games, a 1.0 goals against and a .962 save percentage. Might be one of those guys that when the playoff bell rings, he finds that next gear and goes. Luckily, the Griffins have had success against him in both goaltenders this season. Hopefully that can carry over, but he is going to be a guy to watch out for, and he is a Jets prospect. He is kind of one of their, hopefully, next goaltenders, but at the same time, we hope we can shake that confidence a little bit there. Brad Lambert and Yeager and all them are good ones to watch out for, but you can't not talk about this team without talking about David Gustafsson, their center. In the first series, he had 3 points, point per game player, but he ate big minutes in those crucial moments against Milwaukee too. He was the center for 90% of those big faceoffs at the end of that third game. Very good in the dot, I should say, as well. So he's going to be a guy to watch out for sure.
The guy that I had on here was Mason Shaw. He had 44 points for the regular season. Fujimo, I think that's how you pronounce his name, led the team in goals as well for 19. So 2 of those guys, the goalie battle is going to be interesting. Milic didn't have a good season against us. He was only a .872 save percentage versus Grand Rapids, and DeVincentis also struggled. So it's going to be interesting, I feel, between these, what the goalie battle for this first round, I feel. Our first round.
Well, and you don't know how Grand Rapids is going to deploy their goaltenders either. That's there's a lot of questions around that, right? And I don't know if you want to get into that now, Brandon, but
I got one more guy on their roster that has to be acknowledged because he's going to be a guy that plays playoff hockey, and that's Tyrell Bauer. And that's one of the heavyweights in the American League, if not the heaviest heavyweight. He might have the heavyweight championship belt if they gave one out in every year. This kid's extremely tough. He's willing to chuck him if he needs to, but he plays a very heavy style of hockey that you've got to watch out for. When I think about, if we would have played Milwaukee and you think about Kyle Moreno and guys like that, Bauer's at a different level. So that's going to be a guy that we definitely have to keep tabs on, because if there's a game that starts to get away from Manitoba, he's going to be the guy that tries to bring him back into it.
That's a good call. The other guy that I wanted to put out there was Walker Dewar. He's a speedy guy. He's a short-handed threat too. So he is like John Leonard, our John Leonard, on the penalty kill. So
he wishes he was John Leonard.
Yeah. That's just another guy. When it comes to special teams, you got to watch out for this guy because he's sneaky dangerous.
You want me to throw in another name? I mean, we've already gone through their entire roster at this point. So
did we?
Throw in another name. Let's go.
All right. So one guy, just looking at the stats for the 3 games against Milwaukee, Colby Barlow, first round draft pick, I think from 2023 for Winnipeg. He had 10 shots on goal in those 3 games. Only 1 assist to show for it. But if he's shooting that much, I mean, I think we've heard it a lot of times. Shots are bound bound to go in at some point, especially if you're putting yourself in like, good positions to score. So I don't know, maybe a dark horse pick there, but we'll see.
It's not a bad pick. I mean, you look, this is his first full season in the AHL since being drafted. He played 65 games this season, had 16 points only, but at the same time, playoffs are a whole different beast. He had 1 point in the last round. But again, that's such a small sample size to pick from. It's so hard to be like, yeah, this guy's going to stand out more over this without watching those games. And luckily, with no Griffins hockey, we were able to watch a lot of those games, so we can at least speak to it. But yeah, Manitoba's roster is no slouch. They've got guys, and that's not something where the Griffins can look at that and look at their regular season record and go into this and half play it. It's got to be full playoff intensity from puck drop to the end of it. They have to come at this the right way, and defense is going to play a crucial role. And we'll flip to the Griffins roster here. I mean, who do you guys expect to stand out the most in this?
Boy, that's a tough question. There's
a lot of options.
Oh my gosh. I'll go first because I went last for the Manitoba side. I'm gonna go Edward Trailmax as I'm gonna call him the difference maker for this series. I think first line, second line, you know what you have, and if the Griffins continue to run that third line with Trailmax, Wojo, and forget who was Rakowski, that's right, centering that line. I think Trailmax is your guy. Not only even strength, but power play as well. Which we can get into that later because the Griffins' power play, in my opinion, is going to be a huge, huge factor for the playoffs for them. But yeah, I'm going to go Trailmax.
I wish we knew who the hell was going to play.
I think you have a pretty good idea of who the roster is going to be. I think that Milwaukee game, that last one, second to last game of the season, I think that was your game one roster. If I'm coach, and especially with the result you had, I mean, come on, you blanked them 8-0. But at the same time, who knows? There could be a curveball thrown in there, but just overall, if you're basing it on that roster, I would say who you think is going to stand out.
I just feel like Kiskanen's going to be a guy that could surprise. And
don't disagree.
I wonder, we know the kid can score. That's he did it overseas a fair amount and thought he looked pretty good down the stretch. I feel like he's going to be that, he could have that potential to be that guy, playing down in the lineup that could find the back of the net, right? That third, fourth line role that can score that. All year we joked about Detroit needing bottom six guys that could score, right? And I think he could be that kind of player for the Griffins if he's in the lineup.
Do you want an X factor or just a guy that we want to keep an eye on?
Whatever you want to give me, buddy.
Because we have such a talented roster. There's so many guys that are the guys, as some guy would say on another podcast, talking with guys, right? So it's I just want to know kind of the direction because I've got a couple X factors, I've got a couple dark horses, I've got a couple. I've got one guy that I want to put out there, but I think we're kind of leading in towards it. So maybe this is a great transition point for it. The guy that I think we should keep an eye on in this series is Sebastian Cossa. I think he is. I think this is his. This is the guy to pay attention to because what he does in this is going to dictate the rest of this. The game one, a high volume shots. He likes high volume shots. He got that in the last game of the season. Unfortunately, but if he succeeds this first game, I think we see this this could be a good setup for the rest of the playoffs.
You said Sebastian Cossa.
Sebastian Cossa.
Does that mean you think he's getting the start in game one?
I think he should.
You think he should?
Yeah, I think he should.
I can't tell if Nick's stirring the pot here or being serious. Folks in the comments love to let me know what they think because I don't have a read on this at this moment.
Being serious, and here's why. Sebastian Cossa this season versus Manitoba is 4-0-1, a 1.79 goals against average, and a .938 save percentage. He saw 30+ shots multiple times in the matchups and still posted that as a save percentage. If he can get control of the net in the first 10 minutes and he can become the Sebastian Cossa that we saw beginning of the year, lights out. I think it calms the entire room and it calms Detroit. It calms the fan base. I know we said Posty for the last match. If we were going against Milwaukee, right?
We all thought we were.
Which we thought we were. And we're and everybody's like, why are you going to go with Postava in this one? We're like, well, here's why. Because he shut out Milwaukee those 3 games, 3 game shutout. He's got the hot hand currently. And he's been able to play against that team very well. Why would we not use that same argument for Sebastian Cossa here? 2 weeks, there's not a goal. Neither of these goalies are hot at the moment. They've had 2 weeks
That's
to cool
true.
off. So it's a reset, rejuvenate kind of situation for these goalies. I think you play Cossa. I think you got to go with him at this one based off the matchup.
Out of curiosity, what's Postava's numbers against the couple games he played against?
I'd have to look, but they weren't as good as Cossa's.
No, I wasn't. I was just curious.
I didn't expect Nick to come with stats like that to back up his argument. This was groundbreaking, and I love it. You swayed me. Like, you sold me on the idea of Cossa starting game 1, because I think we were all like, yeah, it's going to be Posty. But I think you're right.
So here's my thinking on this. I'm with Nick too. Here's why. You look at the schedule: Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday for potential game 5. And you got to remember their early starts too, 3:00. They're not going back to back goaltenders. They're gonna alternate, I think. And I think Coast started the year as the guy. I think it's only fitting that he starts the playoffs as the guy. And if you want to be the guy, like in Detroit down the road, and it gets to a game 5, that's your opportunity to shine, right? Now, I'm not saying that Postava hasn't earned the right to start game 1, because down the stretch, he was much better than Cossa was. But I think they just kind of, treated it for the last couple of weeks with Cossa of like, try to reset. You're not going to play a ton. You'll get the 2 weeks off just to kind of reset yourself and be ready for the postseason. But with the 2 back-to-backs, I think you're going to see one goalie get 3 games. Whoever starts game 1 probably gets 3 games, and whoever is the backup's going to get those back-to-backs if it goes the distance.
That's such a Dan Watson move, too.
Yeah, the schedule does kind of help Dan Watson in this situation, because he's so known to flip goaltenders on these. So it's a good point, Travis. Drew, I have your numbers. So his Posty's save percentage of goals against average and record against Manitoba this season he had 107 shots against. He made 100 saves. He let in 7, 0.935 save percentage, a 2.33 goals against average. He played 3 games. He won 2. He lost 1.
Wow.
So they were a little bit higher against Manitoba. So I don't know. I'd have to look and do some more research and see if Posty is better at high volume or if Cossa's better at high volume. I couldn't tell you.
Be a good question for next week's episode if you want to look that up over the week for sure. It's crazy how 1 week we can be talking about, it's most likely going to be this guy. It's the hot hand. It's this record. But then the team none of us expected to play this round ends up playing us. And you go, all right, reevaluate. And here we are all talking about Cossa starting game 1. And I think that's the right move, especially if he, like you said, Nick, if he can go in there, face some high volume shots, lock it down, be the Cossa we know Cossa can be, that reignites that confidence right there for him and lets him know that he is still one of the guys and can go through and carry this team if he needs to.
You got to think, too, in the back of his mind, he is not happy with how the playoffs went last year. So he has got a fire in his belly, or at least I hope he does. Like, I knowing him, I'm sure he does. He's got that fire going. He's ready to go out. He's ready to put out a shutout. Like, he's going to be dialed in for this game. And it's not like his last playoff game wasn't bad. The team in front of him let him down. He had a lot of shots. He made a lot of saves. He stole a couple games there. So hopefully we're able to see that coast that first game. And I think that's going to be important for everybody, right? But I think you're right, Travis. I think you do alternate back to Posty game 2. And then you probably have Coast Wednesday, and then that's the series.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a best
well
of
done,
5.
sir. Well done.
And then we'll have another 2 weeks off.
No, God, no. Anyways, we're going to move on to a quick ad break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the special teams battle with the Griffins and how they landed in the regular season, what that could mean for the playoffs. We're going to take some listener questions from Twitter as well, and we'll wrap it up with a playoff update around the American League when we come back.
No sport flips faster than hockey. One power play, a goalie pulled with 2 minutes left, and everything changes. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for that kind of chaos. With live betting from puck drop to the final buzzer, yet DraftKings has your back with early exit protection. If you place a pregame player prop bet and your player starts the game but leaves in the first period due to injury and doesn't return, you'll get your bet back in cash. No bonus bets, no opt-in, just real protection when injuries happen early. Sportsbook customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN so you're ready for the moment. That's code THPN. Turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings. The crowd is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
And welcome back. All right, let's talk about special teams. And Nick, you requested that I throw this to you first for a crazy special team stat, so I'm going to do that. And yeah, I'm nervous.
I thought you would love this because you talk about refs every game, every week.
Okay,
it seems like, and the calls that they make. So I did this one just for you, buddy. I went back through all the game sheets. I found all the penalties that all the crews did, and I tried to find a common denominator there. And there's 3 crews. So there was Alex Lepkowski crew, and they worked the January game and the October game. Lower chaos, more standard infractions, hooking, holding, roughing, cleaner game flow. Okay. There's another crew, Bobby Joe Love crew. They are a little bit tighter on stick fouls early, game settles later, pace continues if under control. All right. There's the last crew. No, there's the last crew, Adam Tobias crew. And they are more roughing games, misconduct's issued, post-whistle escalation penalties, things like that. Okay. So what we want is for Alex Lepkowski games to be reffed because it favors our style more. All right. Less emotion, tighter game. Right. Now, if Adam Tobias' crew refs these games, it's closer to Manitoba style and does not favor us. And that if Bobby Joe Love, his crew, or their crew, because it could be a woman, I'm not sure, those are neutral, didn't slow us down at all. So wanted to put that crazy fun fact out for you because you talk refs so much that I wanted to put some stats behind it for you.
It's funny you say that too because I know the name Adam Tobias so well already. Just from I see that name on the stat sheet most nights and I just go, oh, here we go. It's going to be one of those games. I knew that about his crew before that. And while you were talking and mentioning all those names, I'm like, well, who reffed the first round between these two teams? And it was the Bobby Joe Love crew, except for the first game. It was a crew that you did not mention. So that's a funny, weird, wild, probably not going to mean anything in the playoff stat. You just hope that it's not called like half the games in the NHL first round where they call everything in the playoffs so far, which has driven me nuts, except for, a sucker punch from an Ottawa player to a Carolina player. That might not get called. Who knows? Good Lord. But let's talk special teams between these two teams, because I know the Grand Rapids power play has been a topic of conversation for this show all season long, where they finished in the regular season 18.7%, 15th in the league on the power play. They finished at the top of the league on the penalty kill at 86%. Manitoba, on the other hand, finished at 11%. For the power play for the season. They were the worst power play in the American League. They did finish in 13th in the league for penalty kill at 82.4%. I wanted to take it a level further and kind of understand where they might be slightly better on the power play, even though they scored only 25 power play goals all season long. When you look at their home record on the power play, 9.2%. On the road, slightly better at 12.6%. And when you look at the PK for them, they finished at 78.6% at home. And on the road, they finished 86% on the penalty kill. Third best on the road in the league, actually. Interesting when you look at that there. I think, Andrew, you mentioned how many power plays they had in the first round.
Yeah, I want to say they were 7, maybe. I think they.
Yeah, it was 7. Didn't convert on many of them, but then you pointed out the stat with their penalty kill, and they were perfect.
Flip those numbers around. It was 8 power plays, 7 penalty kill, and they were perfect on the kill against Milwaukee.
Which, to remind everyone what that means when you're talking about power play in Milwaukee, they were one of the top power play teams in the American Hockey League this year. They were third place behind San Jose and Henderson, finished at 23.5% on the power play, and Manitoba's penalty kill shut them down. And when you look at what I said, the PK at home finished low in the league, but they played all 3 of those games at home. So regular season stats on the special teams don't matter, is what I'm getting at. What we're going to have to look and see at here specifically is what do we think the Griffins power play is going to do? We've seen the glimpses of it with a full lineup, right? We know what ASP is capable of on the power play. We know Eric Gustafsson can run a great power play. We know MBN is absolutely lethal on the power play. But what do you expect to see from the Griffins power play as we head into the series.
What do we expect or what do we want to see? Because I can answer that 2 different ways.
Let's start with what do we expect?
I hope I'm proven wrong. I don't think Grand Rapids is going to stand out big time on the power play across the playoffs, regardless of how far they make it. I don't think that's their bread and butter like it was back in 2017 when they won the cup. But I'd like to be proven wrong.
Just because of the reasoning that I want to counter on is because you've added ASP, you've added Jesse Kiskinen, you've added Dylan James, and you've got MBN full-time as well now. And I think with that firepower, and I don't want to say Dylan James is a firepower for the power play, but it's just another guy, right? Kiskinen is going to be one of those guys that's going to be, it's lethal, right? We've seen that. We know that. MBN is going to be lethal. ASP, MBN, and Ammo, those 3 last year on the power play in the playoffs were crazy good. So they've had 2 weeks to practice. Hopefully Steph's been able to put some wrinkles into this power play, and these guys have been comfortable now for 2 weeks practicing, playing together, getting to know each other a little bit better in the system. I think it does improve. I'm hoping it improves as well, right? It makes me nervous now that you say that they killed every single one of Milwaukee's power play, because Milwaukee is a good team. They're very skilled, and they got a lot of guys back from the NHL as well, which is why we thought they would have moved on, right? And they didn't. So maybe they didn't have enough time to gel, but I think our guys do.
I would just tell them to roll the tape of what Toledo's doing right now. Like, I don't know. I say that jokingly, but at the same time, you watch that power play and it cooks, right? They were the 2nd best power play in all of professional hockey in North America this year. And they've picked up on a pretty good start, but all joking aside, like, I think we've seen flashes of it at times to where it can produce, right? But I think it's just going to be, they're going to have to find some consistency. Somebody's power play is going to have to score at some point in this series, I feel like especially the Griffins power play at home was horrible. There's no denying that. I mean, it was
17.3%.
Yeah, horrible. And Manitoba's power play as a whole was horrible. So
the Griffins power play on the road was 19.8.
Yeah, so like, which bad is going to out good the other bad? That's kind of where you kind of have to look at it.
You're going to get goals off the penalty kill is what's going to happen.
Shorthanded goals are going to win the games.
Yeah.
Very possible. With the 2 teams that we've covered this year, we've seen so many shorthanded goals.
That's terrifying because Manitoba finished 3rd in the league in shorthanded goals at 12. Grand Rapids finished 8th in the league at 10.
That's why I say that. Like, it could come down to shorthanded goals. Who's going to be a mistake in the zone will go on a breakaway, right? Like, we could see that. And if we happen to see it in the first 10 minutes, I'm scared.
Yeah, and 8 of Manitoba's 12 came on the road.
Well, and some of me wonders too, like, what 10 guys are going to play on the power play for the Griffins? Like, you've had this influx of guys offensively that, you know, provide some offense. Like, what 10 are you picking to march up there?
I mean, you got to pick Dries, Shine, Ammo, MBN, ASP, Gustafson, Trail Max.
Who's going to run your first unit? Gus?
I think
Gus runs the first unit.
I think you pull the strategy you talked about when ASP originally got assigned, buddy. I think you put him and Gus on the same unit and let ASP run that half wall.
Okay, but who's going to run the second unit at the top of the umbrella then?
Anton.
That or you run 5 forwards.
You could run. I wouldn't even hate that.
That's dangerous. I don't know. I don't know if I like that with
short being a risk. Yeah. That's dangerous.
I don't hate that idea by any stretch of the imagination. To be honest with you, I
think if I had to pick my poison, I'm putting Tuomisto running the second unit, honestly.
So you'd have what? Gus with ASP and probably Dries, Leonard, Shine is your first unit?
I love Tuo.
Sorry, say it again.
Gus, ASP.
Yep.
Dries, Shine, Leonard. That'd be your first unit.
I think MBN's got to be on the first unit.
Who's going to the second unit? Who are you? This is where the problem lies. Like, who are you taking off?
I think you run Shine on that second unit,
which I think could work. Then you'd have what? Ammo, Shine,
MBN.
MBN's on the first unit.
Sorry.
My guess would be
Ammo,
Kiskinen,
Shine, Trail Max,
Kiskinen, and Tuo.
Well, I don't think you put Tuo there. Tuo's too slow.
I look at Tuo being the most
breakaway.
He might be too slow, but then again, you have other forwards with speed in that mix, right? Tuo is so sound at keeping the puck within the zone and the blue line. And when I look at my other options, I go, yep, he moves to the top of that list just based on that alone. Shai struggles at the blue line, keeping it in on the power play. We know Wally does. Anton, I haven't seen him do it enough. It's probably between those two. But if you're going to run ASP and Gus on one unit, I think just with what 2-0's been able to accomplish this year, you reward him with that, with this very, very short leash.
You're going to forget about Mr. William Lagesson?
Laggy doesn't run power play units.
I think that's a penalty kill guy.
Yeah, he's one of the best penalty killers maybe in the league.
And 2-0 had a sneaky good year offensively, like quietly. You know, when he wasn't relied on to be the guy, like I think just settled into that role better.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And he can unleash a shot from the blue line and shoot for rebound, which is going to be really key, especially if you can get guys like Kiskinen or Trailmax to the net, or even have Shine up there. You got to account, Nick, if Kiskinen and James are even in the lineup.
Yeah, I think they are.
I digress. We'll go into a way bigger topic if we start diving into that. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a key to the series for sure. It's going to be a key to the whole playoffs for Grand Rapids. If that power play can find that 17 to 18% range in the playoffs, it'll be all right. We'll be good. We can't dip below that, though. That's the range they need to, bare minimum to operate at, I think, for success in these playoffs. But again, when you look at the other hand, too, when you look at the PK and just knowing how disciplined the Griffins are, they were one of the least penalized teams in the entire American Hockey League this year. And that's only because of one outlier who got a lot of 10-minute misconducts. We don't talk about those anymore. We had a whole episode on that. You can find it very easily. You can just look at the titles and guess which one it is. But it's going to be interesting to watch it shake out and see. The units itself are going to be really interesting. And when you look at the whole lineup overall, I just don't envy any coach's job on this team. When you look at the talent that they have to pick from to put out there every night. I mean, heck, there could be nights Dan just goes, we're going 11-7 tonight. Why not? We can.
All right. You ready for me to dissect this real quick?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
So, Nick, you mentioned the referee style, right? The types of calls and everything, and how the rougher style favors Manitoba. All right. So hear me out here. If you're Manitoba, okay, and let's say the first two games, Griffins don't even score a power play goal. Let's say they get 8 attempts on the power play, and across the 2 games, they don't score a single goal. What is stopping Manitoba from playing that rough and tumble style of hockey to be shorthanded, to give them an edge physically, knowing that they don't fear that power play? Like, if you don't fear that power play and you're confident in your guys to defend, there is nothing stopping them from playing that physical style game and trying to get a leg up on the Griffins, depending if they want to try and match that style or not. That's the scary part to me.
That's where coach comes in, and this is his phrase, right? You play with emotion, not emotional. And he has said this before. He's said this before a lot of pregames too, because I actually enjoy when Bob puts those pregames out, when he does the interviews with coaches and players like that. I listen to him every single time that he puts them up there. And he will say too, like with Milwaukee is great on the power play. We want to play them 5-on-5. We do not want to go. We don't want to be played shorthanded. So same thing with this route. I think he still wants to play this team 5-on-5 because we're going to be deeper throughout the whole thing. So the power plays, like if you could get momentum off of it, great. If you could score off of it, great. If you could continue to lock them in their O zone, great. Or their D zone, great. Like that's what you want to continue to put that pressure, because they're going to be worn down. There's no way this team is going to be able to go the full 5 games against us. And if they're giving us that many power play opportunities in one game, was it 7, or that was just a series?
We threw out like 4 a game, because I feel like that's not an unreasonable number.
Yeah,
it's a lot, but
it's a chaotic game if it's like that. But it's not an unreasonable amount of potential power play opportunities.
I don't know, just food for thought, hypothetical. Let's hope.
If you want to keep the other team from running around like chickens with their head cut off, just doing stupid stuff, you've got to make them pay on the power play.
100%.
And hopefully they do. I think it's the thing that all 4 of us and most Griffins fans are the most nervous about. And if that power play is the death of us in the playoffs, then that'll be a fun off-season topic. That episode will be chaos, and hopefully we never have to have that episode actually be recorded. So outside of that...
If we do, can we please have Brett Bain on here and have him like dissect the power play and show us where it went wrong? Like what the hits
I
are.
would
Like
love to have the coaches pick apart other. Yeah, that'd be so much fun. But anyways, I digress. We'll move on from that to the last topic when it comes to this round is our predictions. I want to get the prediction for this round from each of you guys, and we'll move on to the questions from our listeners here. So I'm going to start with Nick, who was the most prepared. Nick, what is your prediction for this series?
All right, so it's five game series, which is
You gotta win
different than every other.
Okay, we
hockey
know,
out
we
there.
know.
Just trying to take it away from Travis. I think I don't want to go with the clean sweep of 3. I think it goes 4. I think Manitoba might steal the first one, and then I think we rattle off the next 3. But I could see it. I could see it going that route, right? Manitoba's already played playoff hockey. They've been playing out for their lives. I could see them possibly stealing game 1, and we steal the rest. It is such a big difference between these two teams, right? Statistically, like we are so far ahead. I think we live. It's gonna be an interesting series. I think we still go 4. I think he goes 4. And that's okay.
Travis?
I got Griffins in 4, but it's going to feel like 5. I think there's going to be some overtime games in this.
Okay. Andrew?
I think at home Wednesday, series is done. Griffins win.
You going for the sweep?
I think they sweep them.
Yep, I was going to say death, taxes, and Griffin sweeping the Manitoba Moose. It's going to happen. I have no doubt in my mind that this team can put them away and put them away quick. It'll be interesting to see what that first game looks like. Like you said, Nick, the rust coming off, is the true test of how well the coaching staff got these guys prepared for this. But we also know what this team does on the road. And as soon as they get out of Grand Rapids, it's relaxed. They all come closer together as a group. I know they're going to be in Manitoba a couple of days before the game too as well to get settled in, which is really nice to have the flexibility to do that. So that is the one benefit of this stupid schedule. But I think they can sweep them. I have all the faith in the world when you look at just the stats alone that they should. But at the same time, playoffs are a different beast, and who knows? I think there will be at least one overtime win in that sweep, though. That is my extra sprinkles on top to my prediction there. One overtime win, and please don't make it the home games.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Those are the ones that I'll start later. Like I'll take double, triple overtime in a game that starts at 3:00 in the afternoon. That's fine. A game that starts at 7 doing that? No.
Because we're still going to record after that game.
Yes,
after we
sir.
do post game. So it's going to be a late series. I like that point, though, is the overtime. I think there may be one because they do play a close checking game. It's a very low scoring. If we fall into that trap, we can see that. They won a lot. I think they won a lot of games in the shootout, if I'm not mistaken.
I could think of one specifically, but
Oh, no.
but shootouts don't matter in the playoffs. Overtime stats
Right.
don't even really matter in the playoffs since it's 3-on-3 in regular season. I just think it's going to be a fun series to watch. I just know when I look at both of Manitoba's goaltenders, no matter which one's in it, what I've seen from them in the regular season is that once a goal or two gets past them, they're flustered, they're rattled. And can they simmer down in a playoff format? That I do not know. I'll be very curious to see what type of home ice advantage Manitoba has. Obviously, the Jets aren't in the playoffs. They play at the same arena the Jets do. It looked pretty full for Game 3. Both games are on a weekend there. I'm assuming it'll be quite full for a real, in quotes here, real round of playoffs in the American League. I know, Travis, don't get me, no, we're not doing it. But it'll be interesting to see what they have. And I'm just happy that all the Griffins games are on, like I said before, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Those are usually good attendance days in Grand Rapids. And it seems like the marketing team is all over it, marketing these playoffs already. So hopefully butts and seats in Van Andel make it loud, make it a tough place to play in, bring back the home ice advantage. I think is going to be really key, especially after witnessing it again in person in Toledo this weekend. I'll leave you with one funny stat that I was going through looking at as we were talking here. This is Dan Watson's third straight Calder Cup playoffs appearance. He is the third head coach in franchise history to reach postseason in the first 3 full years as a head coach, joining 2 guys, Jeff Blashill and Todd Nelson. What did both of them achieve in Grand Rapids? They both won a cup. Just saying.
They both coach in the NHL, too.
You know, time will tell, right? But funny, interesting last stat to leave you with. Let's head over to the Twitter page. Let's get the questions. Some of them are multiply asking the same exact thing. So I'm going to group this first one into one. I think we had 4 separate people, but who starts in net? We've obviously talked about it a little bit throughout the show, but Nick sold us, I think, all on this, that Sebastian Cossa starts game 1.
Yeah, nothing to say. I'll agree.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
he, I just those first 10 minutes, he's got to have it. He's got to have it. That's it, and then it's his. Then I won't bring it up again.
I'd agree.
I don't disagree. We'll go to the other questions, not involving just the goaltenders. We'll start at the bottom of this list here. At Barry A. Craft asks, love to know if they are going to prioritize veterans or younger prospects newly added.
I think you see more vets in the lineup for obvious reasons than the regular season, but I think if Watson is smart, in my opinion, I might eat my own words here. I think you do a very good blend of all. So you have vets maybe on each of the 4 lines to help support some of the younger guys, and maybe you find chemistry. And if you don't, you can obviously mix it up. But I don't know. I see maybe a couple more vets being mainstay in the lineup to start.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be more veteran heavy. I would hope. Like Keenan Draper, for instance. I don't think he's going to be a game 1 starter. I don't think he's there. Trey, obviously not a game 1 starter, a game 2 starter. I don't think he'll play game 3, right? It's only if an injury kind of situation. Kiskinen, yeah, I think they could use him. I think you've also had 2 weeks of practice, so you've been able to kind of figure out, hey, who works well together here with this giant puzzle and what pieces are left over, right? So I think, you get Shine back. You can't sit that guy. There's no way you sit him. So I think you lead more veterans. They're there to win the whole thing. They're not. It's not experimental development season right now.
It is not.
I'm gonna pick that apart, right? If you look at it from each of the 4 lines, I think lines 1 and 2 are pretty set in stone. You got pretty heavy on the vets with like Shine, Dries. You got MBN in there. You got Leonard. There's a couple more I'm trying to think of that you might throw in there. Then
Amadeus.
Yeah, Lombardi. Oh, duh. That's a big name. Mazer. There's your top 6, in my opinion.
6.
Then you go to line 3, Trail Max, Raklovsky, and Wojo. Then you go to your 4th line, which in my opinion, especially against Manitoba, needs to be a heavier checking line. So you got Waddy, Seeger. I really wish Bantle was up to fulfill that 3rd spot, but I know he's not. So then toss in maybe one of the more Genborg, maybe. Eddie. Could see him.
That's who I was thinking.
Yeah.
Wait, who'd you say for the 4th line?
I think you have Seeger, Watson, and Genborg. I would put that line together to start.
Can I throw something out there if it doesn't go as planned? If they threw Genborg in there just because he's played a lot of games this year, Dylan James, another bigger body, can scored at the collegiate level quite a bit. I wonder if he sees, and you got to remember too, there's going to be back-to-backs. So if they were to win game 1, you might see a rotation on the 4th line just to try to keep some guys fresh. That's the luxury they have this year with the playoffs, is they've got so many extra bodies compared to years past.
Be surprised if you saw Watson sit and you put James in, and you go James, Genborg, and Seeger in the middle. That 4th line could be a heavy 4th line as well, depending on what injury, where Watson is, during this time late in the season.
Yeah, I think when you look at the original question, I think Dan Watson puts out what is the best lineup to put the team in the best position to win, depending on how many outside factors play a role in deciding your playoff lineup. And by outside factors, I think you all know what we mean by that. When you look at that game that I was referencing in Milwaukee, you're saying that's probably your game 1 lineup. It was Leonard, Dries, Shine, Mazer, Lombardi, MBN, Trailmax, Stahoviak, Raklovsky, Genborg, Seeger, Watson.
I think Stahoviak too. Like, that could be a guy in the playoffs. Like, you look at what he did down the stretch, like that depth scoring. Like, he provided a lot of that and really stabilized that 3rd line. And we talked about it a bunch down the stretch of how big that trade was to get him, and then his emergence into the lineup. And I really liked what he did down the stretch for the Griffins.
Well, it's great that we answered the next question from Patreon listener Derek Sleazer. What is your predicted lineup? So there we go, Derek. We kind of answered that for you.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Travis got to Reagan, also Patreon listener's question a little early there. Who do you think will be the breakout star of the series for the Grand Rapids Griffins?
Who'd you go with, Travis?
I went with Kiskinen, I believe, earlier. Kiskinen and like the part
Well,
we
you just said
talked about.
Stahoviak too. but-
Well, Stahoviak, yeah. Either I think there's just going to be a depth player that really pops for the Griffins. I think Manitoba is going to really focus on trying. Look at what Moulton said to us, dude. Defend against this team. Like when he came and played for the Moose, like he was like, these guys are really good. We have to defend well. I think they're going to put a lot of focus on defending that top six, and they're going to need their bottom six to score. I just think that's what it's going to come down to.
Anyways, Nick, who do you think is going to be the breakout star for the Griffins?
I've got 3.
Give me one.
The whole
I'm always
circus.
ready
For the
in
sake
case
of
you guys
time, give me
in case
one.
you guys take them. I need to be ready. I think my breakout star. I want to go with Cossa. I want to go with Cossa on this. I think he's going to bounce back. I put my belief in him. I'm going out on a limb here. A sturdy limb, but
I think we need to redefine what a breakout star would be, because I think you expect him to be a star. Who would be a guy that you wouldn't expect to be a star? That's
like a dark horse, like a guy that's kind of sneaky good. That's what you want. Okay, I got 3 of those guys too. I got Jacob. I'm going to put Jacob Rakowski out there.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
This is
That's
a
a good
guy that
pick.
I had from Milwaukee as well because he was dangerous against Milwaukee this year. And I kept him in this one as well. I think that Energizer with Stahoviak and Trailmax, I think that will help elevate, and it'll be a guy that'll be back on the board, right? A guy that we're talking about again.
Andrew?
Would you consider NBN one of those guys, or do you already consider him a budding star?
I would say I can consider him a breakout star because I don't think everyone's seen what they want to see out of him yet. So take it away.
I think his game, for like assuming the Griffins can transition well from regular season to playoff mode, if MBN can make that switch, he is going to be your Brandon Hagel of the Griffins. That dude will probably put up 4 goals in a series and will just drive play, big hits when they need them. Could be an absolute menace on the power play if he wants to be. But I think he has the complete package to be your playoff guy throughout the entire playoffs.
I agree. That was going to be mine, so I won't take yours. I'm going to say Amadeus Lombardi. I think we saw moments this season where he heated up, then he cooled off and heated up and cooled off again. I think playoff Lombardi, especially after what he went through last season in the playoffs with this team, there's that sour taste there. I think we see a little bit of Flint Firebird playoff Lombardi pop out here. I think he's going to put up some goals. I think he's going to he can be a game breaker, especially if those are his 2 line mates, MBN and Mazer. I think that line could potentially become a game breaking line if it needs to be. But I think this is the playoff run that gets everyone going. Is Ammo coming to Detroit next year? Let's see. I think this is the playoffs for him to go make that noise.
No disagreement.
Nick's disagreeing. I just can't tell what he's doing.
Thinking heavy.
I agree with what you're saying. Like he's kind of lost that shininess, right? Of new toy aspect, right? With Red Wings fans, and he's been quiet, but he's been putting up points. But I think he's already kind of a star, right? I think he falls into that Cossa spot, just like MBN. Like these are 3 guys that are gonna be going up to Detroit next year, potentially, right? Like I mean, MBN should be up there next year. Cossa should be up there next year. Ammo.
I throw him in there because since the start of March, he had 8 points through the rest of the season. That's quiet for him. That second line was quiet. The third line and first line stood out every single game, more or less the third line recently. I think it's time for that group of guys in that second line there, if that is the line, to go out there and make some noise. I think it can go for all 3 of them. But at the same time, I think, has he played bad? No. But this is that series in the playoffs to really show how has he improved defensively. Can he still produce offensively to be a good defensive player as well? Can he make that jump at center, or do they need to go, all right, he's a winger? Like, this is that series. This is the playoffs to prove that for him, I think. So
Maybe
that's where I
they do
kind of
that.
go, what's that?
Maybe he plays the wing.
You never know. Things can happen. Things will change as the playoffs go through. But that's where yes, he's a budding star in my opinion, but at the same time, he really needs to show it at this time of the year. And this past year is too small of a sample size to really go show it.
See, I really thought you were going to go with Wojo because you've been all talk of this guy for the last.
Someone else took
2
him
weeks of
already,
the regular
essentially. So,
season.
I mean, and you look at Ammo's last 2 years in the playoffs, right? Last year, only 3 games, but 2 points. The year before that, 8 games, only 1 point. Obviously playing in different spots in the lineups both those years, but we need to see playoff Lombardi come out. We need to see the numbers he was putting up in that last couple seasons in Flint in the playoffs. That's what I want to see.
I'm going to stray away from like specific player names. And I think the one thing the Griffins need to do that they did not do a great job in the regular season is getting to the front of the net. I think they have had a really tough time actually getting guys to commit to go to that dirty area and kind of take a beating in front of the net and get some of those dirty goals. And that's kind of hindered, as crazy as it sounds, even more success that I think this team needs to have in the playoffs, because that's where I think a couple of these series could be won, or a couple of these games in the series could be won, is getting into the dirty areas and getting those really murky goals off rebounds, or even on the power play, finding a guy that can kind of get open in the slot right in front of the net, getting him the one-time pass and just burying a shot. I think that's the game breaker as a team mentality, is to just get into that in front of the net.
I know you say you don't want to talk about names, but the one guy that comes to mind that will do that is Gabriel Seeger.
Yes.
Like, that's your guy that gets to the front of the net, dirty areas, wins the faceoffs like that. I'm telling you guys, the bottom six is going to win this series. I really think they're going to have to win this series for this team.
And good thing the third line has looked so darn good in the last month and a half. So we'll take that. And you bring up Seeger. We talked about guys in that second power play unit. That could be one of the guys. That could be your center on that unit. Honestly, he really could. He wins faceoffs like no other, and can go park it in front of the net. I don't hate that move. All right, moving on to the next questions. This one was from Lombardi. He had a couple questions. First one we just answered was, which player do you expect to evolve to a new level, surprise people in the playoffs? Did the Griffins breathe a sigh of relief when Milwaukee was eliminated?
Honest thought, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say yes.
Ooh, do you have a reason for that yes?
I do. I think Milwaukee's style in the playoffs would be punishing for Grand Rapids. There is not a single guy on any one of the forward line pairs or D line pairs that isn't willing to drop the gloves and just go. And the Griffins, they're willing to stick up for each other 100%. But in a 5-game series, as much as I wish it was a 7-game series, like, that physicality element that Milwaukee brings could be a huge element to their game that could easily stifle some of the Griffins' more offensively talented players, I'll say.
I'll agree with Andrew, but for different reasons. I think it fits. The big talk right now is goaltending for us, right? Who is the game one. And I think this suits us in getting Cossa's mental and everything back on track by seeing a lot of shots, right? That's going to help us the most. Is a hot goaltender can steal a series, right? And you have 3 really good dudes back there. But again, I think I'm still piling on Cossa here. Like, you want to see those shots. Let's get him those shots. Let's see what he can prove. Let's put him out there. And Manitoba outshoots just about almost everybody else in the league. So that's why I'm like, let's go that way.
You talk about goaltenders getting hot, stealing a series. Does the performance of their goaltender in Game 3 concern anybody with how well he played in that game and how well he, turned around and won that series for them?
Yes and no. Just because seeing regular season games against him, but again, playoffs are different. But if I'm going based on the regular season games alone, I'm not as concerned about that. But he could be a difference maker for Manitoba for sure. It's just the Griffins they don't have to outshoot Manitoba in every playoff game. They do not have to. That is not the end goal. It has to be the quality of shots, which I think when you look at that compared to, yes, Manitoba is a high shooting team, but the quality of shots is not there. The Griffins' quality of shots, some of the shots that these guys can take, especially when you look at the shooters they have and the releases they have, they've got them beat there by a mile. So I think that is going to be another difference maker. You might see a game where they get outshot 30-25 and they're going to walk away with the win. It's exactly for that one reason, the quality of their shots.
That's the big thing. It says the shot quality, right? That's how we've continued to beat them, even though we've been outshot against them. And we're okay. Wiley's been okay with that. I was concerned about it in the beginning of the season because it seemed to happen every game. If you want the head-to-head, I have it for the other goaltenders.
The head-to-head against us?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could assume with the record of 6-1-1 against, or us being 6-1-1 against them, the record for wins and losses isn't good, but
goals against, Milicic was a 3.50 and a save percentage of 0.872%. So not the Milic we've seen in years past. Dominic, how do you pronounce it?
DiVincentis.
Close enough. He was a 0.864 with a 3.7 goals against average. I mean, I'm not afraid of those two goalies.
No, not at all. The last question from Lottie there was, does the coaching staff, primarily Steph Julian, have what it takes to improve the struggling power play? I'm going to save that one for an off-season question. I've got it bookmarked. We'll go back to it because I don't like to put negativity out there for anybody heading into the playoffs. But if you go back to some episodes, maybe at the end of last season or the off-season, you'll find our opinion on that one in there pretty quickly. Moving on from that, we had a question from the Griffins admin, which was always nice to see. This one, sorry, Andrew, you don't get to answer this one, but what or who has been the biggest distraction during post-game media this season?
I've seen it twice. I'm going with Austin Watson.
I was going to say Dog. Dog was the biggest distraction all season long for me.
Oh,
as expected.
I thought you were going to say Louis Laguson's kid farting in the post game. I thought that's what you were going to say because that was a pretty big distraction for
I forgot about Louis ripping one sitting on the floor, so it echoed throughout the locker room, including being picked up on all the microphones during Laguson's post game. That was the maybe top tier distraction moment of the season. But no, Dog's always messing with me when we're asking questions and doing stuff. That's what I expect him to do though, and I appreciate it. So I would say Dog is my biggest distraction. Ammo is the most distracted player during post-game interviews, hands down. On to the next question. This comes from Katie Lady. Do you think Dan Watson will spin a wheel to get his opening night lineup? I don't envy the decisions he has to make. Honestly, spinning a wheel might work. We'll have to see. And see if we see a wheel around the locker room during postgame, we'll let you know if that's how he's doing it. Yeah, he's got a tough choice. We've talked about it at length through this episode, but I don't envy the coaching staff for having to pick the starting lineup. What I look at it as, I don't want to get too far ahead, is how excited I am for next year already, still looking at the depth this team could potentially have, the young budding prospects this team will have on it. It's going to be so much fun to cover another season of Griffins hockey, but the job's not finished just yet.
It's not just the young core that's coming in too. Like we not the young core, not just the young team, the guys that are coming in that have been here right now. It's just the core too that they've re-signed with John Leonard, Shine, Dries. Like those guys are coming back. I think Alex Kanek-Leipert as well, if I remember.
Yeah. AKL is signed back for next year too. So yeah, it's going to be a really fun season next season, and hopefully we're celebrating something really big. That's all I got to say. This comes from our friend Elaine Shercliffe over at I'm a Rain Dancer on Twitter there. Who's your favorite Griffins reporter not named Hockeytown West? Tom.
Tom's pretty good. Max Boltman's actually really good too while he's down there.
Elaine wants us to say her so bad, and she's going to be so mad at both
I'll
of those
say
answers.
Elaine.
There you go. Maddie. Travis loves you, Elaine.
I got your back, Elaine.
Elaine is the best. I love having postgame with Elaine. It's always very helpful. She asks great questions as well. So
she's a rock star.
I just love when I come up and just am an absolute menace to her in the press box for 2 hours, 3 hours, and just like drive her absolutely nuts. I'll like take the nameplate and I'm like, nope, I'm sitting here. Moved.
That's why Travis isn't allowed back. Just kidding. He is. This one I'm going to pose to Andrew first to see how he handles this question. This comes from the Mexanadian. Is cereal a soup?
I'd say yes, just for the fun of the question. I think it's absolutely a soup. How is it any different? Dig into it. What is the definition of a soup?
All right, at risk of going off the rails here, we'll move on from that question because we're trying to focus on the playoff preview. A lot of questions throughout this was still who starts in net. We had another one of those in there. But this last one from Mark, do the Red Wings have any say in who's in goal? Will they say it has to be Cossa to get him playoff experience, even though his second half play hasn't been great? Or do the Griffins get to start the guy that's dominated all year? That's a grand question. We don't know what Detroit has a say in when it comes to this. I think it'll be pretty evident when the opening night roster comes out. But at the same time, as Nick alluded to early in the episode, Cossa's been hot against the Moose this season, whether the second half was a struggle or not. And I think we've kind of all have agreed that you kind of go to him for game one and see what he's got. And after 2 weeks off, that mental reset is going to be huge for him. Hopefully he's been able to reset and feel like himself, back to having fun. Because when Cossa's having fun, that's when he's playing his best. When he is having fun, he is the most fun goaltender to watch play hockey, but he's got to be having fun out there. And playoff hockey's fun, right?
It's awesome. Playoff hockey is the greatest.
Exactly.
Is that shots fired, Brandon?
At what?
Or who?
Because we're not, the Red Wings are not in the playoffs.
Oh, well, you took it there.
Well, that's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much of a say Detroit really has. But I feel like Dan Watson has such a good control over this team that it's all good. And then Nick, the last question was specifically directed at you. It comes from Carlo, and it was who lives in a pineapple under the sea.
I'm not sure.
Jesus.
Boo.
That's a tough question. I'm not very
Mr. Krabs?
Mr. I'm not sure what
Sorry,
to
Carlo.
take,
I know
Canada.
what you tried to do there. I hoped Nick would deliver. He didn't deliver on singing the song for you. So we'll move on. Last thing we've got to go over to wrap this episode up is just a quick playoff update around the American League. So obviously the Griffins are playing the Moose in the division semifinals here. And the other matchup in the Central Division is the Chicago Wolves and the Texas Stars. Game 1 is happening as we're recording right now. The end of the first period, it's tied 0-0. Head over to the Pacific Division. Ontario and Coachella meet up in that matchup there, and Colorado and Henderson. And Henderson has emerged to maybe be a sleeper in the playoffs here, which is scary. I don't know how many of their contracts go back and forth between Vegas. If Utah eliminates Vegas and they get guys back too, what could that potentially look like? I don't know. But Henderson is going to be a team to watch, especially coming out of the Pacific Division here and hopefully meeting up with the Griffins in the conference finals. So we'll be paying close attention to that one. We'll head over to the division semifinals in the Atlantic Division. It is Providence and Springfield. Springfield knocked out Charlotte, guys. I think we have to take a moment and speak on this. That was the most unexpected upset I think I've seen so far, maybe in all the playoffs.
That's your dark horse in the entire playoffs.
To be able to pull that off, that's absolutely insane.
I mean, their tears were all over their airport.
You were in Charlotte, weren't you? Yeah, I mean, for that series, Charlotte won game 1, 8-1, and then lost game 2, 5-2, lost game 3, 2-1. Like an offensive explosion in game 1, and then the offense was nowhere to be found for the rest of the series. It's insane.
They needed to save some goals for the other games.
It would have probably been smart on their end, but hey, Charlotte's out. And when we looked at their roster as a potential finals matchup, you saw all the NHL assignments from Florida. You kind of just went, oh God, this could be scary. And they're gone. And you're kind of like, oh, thanks, Springfield. Like, can you do it with Providence this round too? That'd be really cool.
I would send flowers.
I would too. The other matchup in that division is Wilkes-Barre against Hershey. Hershey eliminated Bridgeport. What a rude thing to do. Come on. They're going through enough getting relocated. You didn't need to eliminate them. But it should be another interesting matchup to watch out of there. You go to the North Division. Laval and Toronto are meeting up against each other. Rochester got eliminated by Toronto. That series was actually a very interesting one to watch. And you look over at the other one, and you've got Cleveland and Syracuse. That one is already underway. That has already played 2 games because, again, AHL scheduling. Yay! That series is tied 1-1. Cleveland won the first game 3-2, and Syracuse dominated Cleveland in the next game 4-1. So a potentially interesting series to watch there. Game 3 is going to be on Friday. So I'm interested to see who comes out of that one. If Syracuse is going to paint their path to play against the Griffins in the finals for the 3rd time, I'm going to lose my mind.
Did each time that they played them in the finals, did Grand Rapids flood too?
Yes.
So it could be good. Could be good superstition there.
Good omen.
Fun history fact. Every time Grand Rapids has had a significant flood, we've won the cup, at least if we're in the playoffs at that point. So yay for floods. Wait, that's going to get clipped. There was one last question I didn't ask from Twitter until we went through the divisions and all that stuff. Who do we think is going to come out of the Pacific to potentially play the Griffins in the conference finals between those teams that are remaining there? Out of Ontario, Coachella, Colorado, or Henderson, who do you guys have?
Brandon should know my answer just off the revenge factor.
In the conference finals? Colorado.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I feel like Waddy, if he got Colorado, would love it. Just for the revenge factor.
Can you elaborate for the Griffins fans that might not know the history of Toledo and Colorado, why that would be a revenge for Dan Watson?
We ran into them, I think twice, maybe back-to-back years or at least once, and we had lost. And I'm a big believer in to go through past failures. If you can face them, it makes it even sweeter in the end. So I think that if they ended up getting Colorado in a conference final and got through them, I would love that for Waddy.
Yeah, I agree. And for those that don't know, Colorado Eagles used to be an ECHL team before they promoted up to the AHL. So, and still in the same arena, everything. So Waddy would have to revisit all those demons that he has right there, and hopefully he can exercise them and win against the Eagles. That would be satisfying. But Andrew, who do you got between those 4 teams?
Not to take the 1 seed. I could see the Reign being the conference final matchup.
I mean, picking the 1 seed isn't the worst option because, I mean, we're selfishly picking the 1 seed all the way through over here. So, Nick, who do you got? Who's coming out of the Pacific to meet Grand Rapids in the conference finals?
I'm going to ask a stupid question. Where's Henderson located?
Nevada.
Ooh, all right. And Ontario is not really Ontario, Canada,
It's Ontario,
right?
California.
California.
Correct.
California.
So hence they're in the Pacific Division.
Yeah. Well, I try not to keep any of that in mind because it's all over the place. I'm going to go. I think Colorado would be fun. I know they've been scouting us since the beginning of the season, so it's a little scary on that aspect. But I'll go with Trav on this and go Colorado.
I'm going to say Coachella Valley. Just because if I pull the trigger on deciding to travel for the conference finals, I would really much rather go to Coachella Valley than Henderson or Ontario. Colorado's a close second, but I didn't want to be the third guy on the show to pick Colorado. So I'll say Coachella.
Bigger question is, why are you traveling for the conference finals and not the finals? Like, come on. Like, what?
Who didn't say I wouldn't do both?
I'm just saying.
The conference finals are going to have the most expensive travel cost out of all of them because you're going to the Pacific, not just somewhere on the East Coast. So
It's fair. I'll give you that.
you commit to one, and you telling me you wouldn't want to go to Coachella Valley in that time of the year? Come on. Colorado would be sweet, though. Honestly, I'd go hang out in Loveland, Colorado for a few days. That sounds wonderful to me. But either way, that's our predictions for who's coming out of the Pacific there. I picked the underdog of underdogs in that division as well, so I'll take that this time. But to wrap this up, just any other final thoughts from you guys as we head into this first round matchup with the Moose here? Anything sweet to cap this off with?
I hope
I
it's
got nothing.
I hope it's quick. I hope it's a quick series. I hope there are some demons slayed through this, right? Mentally, physically. I think we see the team identity. I hope they start fast, right? That's going to be a big thing for the series is if they start fast, it's going to be over quick. I'm hoping that there's no overtime, right? And I hope you guys are all in. I hope everybody shows up to the Van Andel and it is crazy on a Wednesday for $2 beer, $2 hot dogs. Maybe there'll be moose burgers. I don't know. They did those.
The pig
They
roast
roasted the
against the
pig
ice
roast.
hog.
Yeah, they did that a couple years ago. That was cool. That was
Hey, they
fun.
won that series, so maybe there's a silver lining there.
Maybe I want to see the creativity. I was hoping like the theme was gonna be like let the hunt begin or something, or the tracks collide. I don't know, just something fun between the two teams. Because the Griffin is like a claw track, right? And then the Moose track.
Griffins fly, bro.
Yeah. But
Griffins fly together.
They also walk. So, yeah, I just hope there's some craziness. I hope there's some playoff atmosphere. I'm excited to see it again, right? Being in Toledo and then watching on TV in Bloomington. Their fan base was so good. I'm hoping that Grand Rapids shows out for their team.
Just show up better than Bloomington, please.
If we show up like Bloomington,
it's gonna be a fun series. It's gonna be great to have playoffs back in Grand Rapids. It's so great to have this 3 years in a row. I couldn't imagine having to wait 10 years to get a playoff game in my home arena again. It would be so much torture to have to wait 10 years to get a playoff game back. I'm taking all the shots in the world at the Red Wings right now. Anyways,
hopefully we win that home game too. That's the important part.
Dude, wrap it up on a Wednesday night. Heck yeah. Have the whole weekend to ourselves. That would be wonderful for that to happen. Of course, that's not a reality for us covering two teams that are both in the playoffs, unlike the parent team. Anyways, that's my last shot, I promise. Moving on. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this playoff preview. As we said before, we'll be doing post-game recordings every single night for every single Grand Rapids Griffins playoff game throughout all the way to hopefully hoisting a trophy at the end of it all. That one after that game would probably be a nightmare to record, but we will get it done because we're going through this. We're going to go through the grind and it's going to be a good time. But before we go and wrap it up, we got to thank the sponsors of the show, DraftKings and Everything Hockey Clothing Company. When you're betting with DraftKings, use code THPN. And when you're shopping at everythinghockey.com, use code WEST to save a few bucks off your order. We also got to thank our lovely supporters over at patreon.com/HockeytownWest podcast as well. Those guys help keep the show afloat. They keep the lights on for the most part. I think Andrew's lights went off or it was the sun, one of the two. But Nick, who are the lovely subscribers over there?
We've got Michael Asante, Derek Sleezer, Alan and Lori Fausch. We got Griffin Not from GR, Elaine Grace, John in Florida, Tyler Ingalls, Darren Swartz, Zach, Peter Grell, Bert Rito, Bex, Jason C., Alan and GR, Joe Schroeder, and D-Boss's D-Boss.
Thank you all for the love and support as always. All right, everyone, it is playoff time. It's going to be fun. Like Nick said, let's get in Vandal. Let's be loud. Let's have a good time. And as always, go Griffins, go Walleye.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your hosts, Nick at GR Hockey Guy, Brandon at Brandon GR Hockey, and Travis at Trav in